Formula One world champion Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton will start as favourites for the title once more in 2022, but there are several other drivers that could crash the party with major regulation changes set to shake the sport up. The 2021 Formula One season was one of the most captivating and enthralling seasons of all time, and both Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton are set to do it all again in 2022. From their epic duel in the season opener in Bahrain all the way to the final lap at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, the two rivals battled it out for the championship in a titanic tussle that the sport was crying out for. Looking ahead to 2022, it appears world champion Verstappen and Hamilton will be the protagonists once more, but there are other figures that could crash the party. While Red Bull and Mercedes are still the favourites in 2022 when new regulations coming in, the changes may just shake up the grid order and allow a contender to emerge from the shadows. Originally intended for the 2021 season, the regulations were delayed a year due to COVID. These regulations are aimed at reducing following car distance by removing dirty air that leading cars leave in their wake, making overtaking moves more difficult due to the turbulent airflow. Cars will differ quite substantially from their predecessors despite power units essentially being unchanged, as side pods, airboxes, brake ducts, underbodies and both front and rear wings are set to be redesigned. The addition of 18-inch wheels will also massively affect the cars, both visually and technically. These regulations and the second year of the £105 million budget cap may have ramifications on the 2022 Drivers' Championship, so who could contend for the title? Max Verstappen. Let's start with the world champion. The Dutchman drove exceptionally well in 2021, and while the controversial finale may not have been exactly what he wanted, Verstappen deserved the championship. He showed a mature side to his game, creating a deadly combination of poise and aggression to take control of the championship race early and finished with more pole positions, race wins and laps led than any other driver. The 24-year-old will be one of the title front-runners once again in 2022, particularly as Red Bull's car will likely suit the aerodynamic-based regulation changes given their technical director, Adrian Newey, is a top-tier aerodynamicist. Unfortunately, his teammate Sergio Perez is not quite at the level required to challenge given his poor qualifying performances. Lewis Hamilton. Obviously Hamilton is going to be in the mix. The Brit, if he does indeed return amid reports he is mulling retirement, is arguably the finest driver in F1 history. Hamilton will also be smarting from the heart-wrenching defeat in Abu Dhabi, and while regulations are designed to narrow the gap between the top teams and the midfield, Mercedes must be considered the frontrunners. The Silver Arrows have won 8 successive Constructors' Championships and they are arguably the most innovative team on the grid, and the German manufacturer will be confident once more in 2022. George Russell. Mercedes' strength brings us to our first surprise contender. Does George Russell have what it takes to battle for a championship? It may be difficult for him to do so in his debut campaign with the team, but Russell has stupendous pace. He proved as much at the 2020 Sakhir Grand Prix when he stood in for Hamilton and would have delivered the win had he not suffered terrible luck. Russell faded towards the end of the year, ironically after he had secured the seat at Mercedes, but he put in some sensational performances in 2021. He secured a maiden career podium at the aborted Belgian Grand Prix, a fitting reward for placing his Williams on the front row in unbelievable fashion. Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. There are rumblings that Ferrari are set to compete at the front again in 2022, and their driver lineup of Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz is up there with the best around. Leclerc has been touted as one of the sport's finest talents alongside the likes of Verstappen and Hamilton, but Ferrari haven't yet provided him with the machinery to consistently compete enough to challenge. However, Sainz, in his debut season at the famous Italian outfit, outscored his teammate and impressed all year round. The Spaniard must be considered one of the better drivers on the grid, and if he found form in a Ferrari that can challenge, Sainz could definitely find himself in the title picture. Rory Byrne designed Ferrari's cars from 1998 to 2007, and he is back aboard as a consultant as the team look to recapture the glory days. With Leclerc seemingly still the number one at Maranello, it is difficult to see how Ferrari would approach such a situation, but the duo are too good not to be considered as shock contenders for the title. Fernando Alonso. He couldn't, could he? Fernando Alonso is one of the greatest drivers in Formula One history. He is a two-time world champion and has consistently outperformed the car he is in. Alonso secured a special podium at the inaugural Qatar Grand Prix, his first top three finish since 2014, and was involved in some of the most impressive driving sequences of the season. The Spaniard has claimed he returned to the sport due to the regulation changes, and is confident Alpine will have a strong package, words echoed by team boss Marcin Budkowski when discussing the 2021 car. On the engine side, we lost ground because we didn't develop it further. We have a major evolution, he said. We recovered some of the performance at the beginning of the year, but then we pulled the plug and moved on to 2022. I'm completely comfortable with that because it's the right thing to do in terms of balancing the benefits of what we could have done this season compared to the next. If Alonso is in a car capable of winning the championship, it will be difficult to write off the 40-year-old.